one into the night, deep into right, way out of here. Swung on, hit it, crossed, and the Phillies are going to lead it. Harper, the swing of his life.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out.
From WHYY, it is hitting season. Hey there, podcast pals. I'm John Stolnis from The Good Fight. You can follow me on X and Blue Sky at John Stolnis. Coming up, it's going to be the Dodgers. We know that now after the Dodgers won Game 2 of their wildcard series against the Reds, sweeping the fraud Cincinnati Reds in Los Angeles, 2-0. The only wildcard series to end in a sweep. And the Phillies now know it will indeed be the Los Angeles Dodgers on Saturday night for Game 1 of the National League Division Series. Two Titans will be going at it this weekend with a trip to the National League Championship Series on the line. We'll also give you the status of all the other wild card series, and we'll talk about the Phillies intra-squad game that played on Wednesday night. Man, did that look like a whole lot of fun, and I think it was a really good exercise for the players, having that stadium packed with fans. And then, hey, we'll dip into a little bit of roster stuff and stuff that Dave Dombrowski said ahead of the intra-squad game on Wednesday. So lots to get to here on this edition of Hittin' Season. But we do know that it will be the Dodgers coming to Citizens Bank Park on Saturday night in a highly anticipated series. This will be the marquee matchup of all of the divisional series, no doubt about it. I think the consensus is that the winner of this series will be the one that represents the National League in the World Series and probably the favorites to win the World Series. So would be great if this was an NLCS where you could get a best of 4 and 7-game series, but instead it's going to be like one of those old school National League Championship series, a best of 5 that the Phillies played with the Dodgers back in. These two teams have a long playoff history. Back in 1977 and 78, the Dodgers broke the Phillies' hearts 2 straight years. Of course, remember Black Friday. And then the Phillies returned the favor in 2008 and 2009. You had the Matt Stairs game in 08. You had the Jimmy Rollins walk-off hit, breaking the Dodgers' hearts in that Game 4 back in 2009. Just so bizarre, like 2 straight Game 4s in the National League Championship Series. The Phillies overcome late leads and win those series in 5 games. So some history between these two teams in the postseason for sure. But this will be the first time these two teams have met in the playoffs since 2009, which is interesting considering how frequently these two teams have made the postseason over the last 3 years. They didn't meet in 22, 23, or 24, but now here they are, and the baseball world will be watching on Saturday night at Citizens Bank Park as Shohei Ohtani will take the mound for his first ever postseason start against the Phils. It's going to be at either 6:08 or 6:38, depending on who wins the Yankees-Red Sox series. He's lined up to make his first ever postseason start against the Phils on Saturday night at Citizens Bank Park. And, of course, he will go up against the Phillies ace, Christopher Sanchez. Just a tremendous pitching matchup there. This will be, as I said, Ohtani's first ever playoff start. The first player in baseball history to start at least one game as a pitcher and at least one as a non-pitcher in a single postseason. And Ohtani really, he was working his way back slowly during the course of the regular season, slowly building up innings. He returned to the mound only in June. He was rehabbing from his second elbow injury, but he was outstanding on the mound. A 2.87 ERA over 14 starts. Now, a lot of those starts were 3 innings, 4 innings, but he slowly started to build up to 5 innings. And we remember in his second to last start of the season, he no-hit the Phillies over 5 innings. He looked absolutely electric. The fastball was near 100 miles an hour and painting the corners with it. And then in his next start against the Diamondbacks, he went 6 shutout innings. So he was really starting to get his groove on towards the end of the season, struck out 62 and walked 9 in his 14 starts. So you can see how electric he can be when he's on the mound, and his arm should be very fresh. You hope that playing at Citizens Bank Park maybe has a little bit of an effect on him, that he's not quite as sharp as he was at his home ballpark at Dodger Stadium. You also he's had some time off now. It'll be some significant time off between his starts. So, the same could be said about the Phillies. It'll be some significant time off for Christopher Sanchez and Luzardo and everybody else. So, not exactly sure how it's all going to work out, but Shohei Ohtani getting game one it just adds to the storyline for the series this weekend, and he looked dominant. He ran through the Phillies. That's why it was so important, though, for the Phillies after clinching the National League East. Why so many of those guys wanted to be in the lineup for the hangover game. They wanted to get a look at Shohei Ohtani. They wanted to see what he had to offer. And so now they've got him in their minds a little bit. They know kind of what to expect. Ohtani's going to have to change things up a little bit when he's on the mound. And the Phillies have to, go into this postseason and, make Ohtani pitch to them. They can't go chasing. I mean, I thought it was something interesting Kyle Schwarber said. He was on the Pat McAfee show during the course of the week, and he said, we don't want to look like ding-dongs at the plate. We want to hit ding-dongs, but we don't want to look like ding-dongs. And what he's basically saying is in the postseason, the Phillies can look like ding-dongs at the plate. They're chasing everything. They're going after pitches out of the strike zone. He talked about sometimes he has had a desire to try to hit home runs, and he said we can't do that. I got to focus on hitting low line drives up the middle, and those things turn into home runs because if you have a good approach, that's how it works out. So that's what they got to do against Shohei Ohtani. Just try to hit line drives off the guy. And it's going to be a tremendous pitch. I mean, this is what playoff baseball is all about. You get the two best teams in baseball going at it in prime time, two fantastic starters. It's going to be a low scoring game. So it's going to come down to the bullpens late. It's going to come down to 2-out hits. Who can get those big 2-out hits? That's how this series is going to be won, because the Dodgers starting rotation right now is looking phenomenal. It is the strength of their team, just like it is the strength of the Phillies team. And it really is probably going to come down to which starting rotation can outshine the other. Blake Snell will most likely get game 2 on Monday. That'll be on normal rest for him. I doubt they're going to go with Tyler Glasnow in game 2. So they'll probably put Glasnow in the bullpen and start Blake Snell in game 2. And that means Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who pitched game 2 of the series against the Reds on Wednesday night and pitched fantastic, 113 pitches going into the 7th inning. He will likely get a game 3. And we still don't know exactly what the starting rotation is going to look like for the Phillies in this playoff series, whether it's going to be Ranger Suarez in game 2, Jesus Luzardo in game 2. It sounds as though there may even be a possibility of Aaron Nola making an NLDS start. I mean, I certainly wouldn't do that at all, but you're seeing that in some circles. I think it's going to probably be Jesus Luzardo starting game 2 and Ranger Suarez in game 3, because what the Phillies could do in that situation is use Ranger Suarez out of the bullpen in game 1 if need be. That would act as like his bullpen day, and then he would be ready to make a start in game 3 in Los Angeles in between. So that would be on a Wednesday of next week, because they're going to play game 1 on Saturday, then they're going to be off on Sunday, they're going to play game 2 on Monday in Philadelphia, then there's going to be a travel day, and then they're going to play game 3 on Wednesday and finish up Wednesday, Thursday, games 3 and 4. And then there would be another off day to come back to Philadelphia in case there is a game 5. So there's a little bit of flexibility with the Dodgers now. You really wanted that Dodgers-Red series to go 3 games. That would have been ideal. It would have forced the Dodgers to use Shohei Ohtani in game 3, and they would have had to go with Blake Snell. They would have to go with Tyler Glasnow in a game 1 in Philadelphia, and then kind of push everybody back a little bit. I don't know that would have been a huge advantage for the Phillies, but what it would have done is just mess things up. Ohtani would have only been able to pitch once in this series against the Phillies, and now as it's lined up, he will be able to pitch twice, game 1 and then in a game 4 potentially. If the series goes that far, which I kind of think that it will. I think this is going to be at least a 4-game series, if not a 5-game series, which will, of course, make everyone super duper nervous. There's just no way around it. Playoff baseball makes you nervous. And as we've seen in these wild card series, the pitching has been ahead of the hitting so far. These guys are coming out and they're throwing some ridiculous stuff right now. You really wanted to see that series go 3 games to make the Dodgers utilize their bullpen, get their arms going, and it just kind of, there's a price to pay for being in the wild card series. But the Reds offered little resistance in this wild card series, and the Phillies went ahead and the Dodgers went ahead and took care of it in 2 games. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a bye. Pseudo bye for the Dodgers, but 10-5 win in game 1 and then an 8-4 win in game 2. Not exactly, the Reds did not put up a whole lot of a fight. Shohei Ohtani went deep twice in the first game of that series, as did Teoscar Hernandez. So a big series for Shohei Ohtani, especially in game 1. Blake Snell pitched really well. Both Yamamoto and Snell pitched into the 7th innings in their 2 starts. This is the path to the Dodgers repeating as champions, because if they get to the bullpen, and that bullpen does what it did in the regular season, teams are going to score on them late. So they need their pitchers to go deep. And Yamamoto threw a career-high 113 pitches. They do not want to go to that bullpen. And so this might be like a throwback series, because the Phillies like to ride their starters as well. Now, Thompson's more aggressive in the playoffs, but I think you're going to see him. I think you're going to see him use his starters as much as possible. I also think in this series, you're going to see John Duran have multi-inning saves. He talked to The Athletic's Matt Gelb about this. So he thinks it's boring to just pitch 1 inning. He has experience pitching multiple innings in the playoffs, did so with success when he was with the Twins in their lone playoff series, and Duran got a chance at a little bit of October baseball, and he wants to pitch. He works out and prepares to be a multi-inning pitcher whenever he's in there. And so the Phillies will use him in multiple innings. They may ask him to go 2 innings. They may ask him to get 4 outs or 5 outs. They didn't ask him to do that in the regular season. They will ask him to do that in the playoffs. So that'll be something to watch as well. The bullpen rules, they don't apply. The regular season rules don't apply in the playoffs. It's whoever's throwing the best is going to get those innings. And we'll see how the Phillies utilize their bullpen here, how Walker Buehler factors into it. But I think you're going to look at Tanner Banks and Orion Kirkering as your middle inning righty-lefty. You're going to look at David Robertson and Matt Strahm as your setup righty-lefty. And then, of course, you've got Joan Duran, but it's not going to just be 9th inning. He may come in with 1 out in the 8th inning. He may come out with, he may get asked to pitch the 8th inning of a game when you've got Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman ready to go. Do you want Matt Strahm making those, throwing those pitches, or David Robertson throwing those pitches, or do you want Joan Duran throwing those pitches? You probably want Duran throwing those pitches. And Duran didn't look great, coming down the stretch there. Struggled a little bit in his last 5 outings. Hopefully this week off gets him back on track. So we now know it will be the Dodgers coming to Philadelphia for Game 1 of the NLDS, and it should be a phenomenal series, and I think the winner of this series will go on to win the World Series. I'll get into these other wildcard series here in just a second, but first, the Phillies played an intra-squad game on Wednesday. That looked like a whole lot of fun. More than 31,000 fans on a Wednesday night for a 6 o'clock start of a 7-inning game with 2 sides of the same team playing each other, packed the stadium, and you could tell the fans had a great time, the players had a great time. I think it helps the players to have all those fans in the stands. It made it feel like a real game. Made it feel like a real contest. They had, they basically played it up like it was a real game. They had Joan Duran's entrance music when Duran came in the 7th inning to lock down a 6th inning in this game, or 7th inning, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. And it just kind of, I think it helped the players feel like it wasn't just like going through the motions, made it feel like a real game. This is the best fit. You guys are the best fan base in baseball. Show me another team that would draw 31,000 plus fans to an intra-squad game on a Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Show me another fan base that finds 31,000 people that have the time and the willingness to do that. There was even tailgating before this game, from what I understand. So hats off to you, Phillies fans. I mean, I know that we can kind of get nervous about things. We can get wrapped around the axle about things. We can be pessimistic about things sometimes. I think our actions belie our words sometimes. Even those of you who are skeptical and worried about this team believe that this team can win the World Series. And you are here to support them. I mean, I think if the Phillies do lose, it's not going to be because they lacked fan support. It's certainly not going to be because they lacked fan support. And I know we talk about Citizens Bank Park. It is a tremendous home field advantage, and I don't want to throw cold water on that. You want to play all of as many home games in the playoffs as you can, especially at Citizens Bank Park. But, it's not a magic bullet. It's not an invisibility cloak or anything like that. I mean, they lost games 6 and 7 of the NLCS at home. Citizens Bank Park couldn't protect them from that. It couldn't protect them from dropping 2 games against the Yankees in the 2009 World Series. It couldn't prevent them from losing Game 6 of the 2010 NLCS at home. I mean, Game 5 of the 2011 NLDS against the Cardinals. They just they couldn't prevent them from getting no hit against the Astros in the World Series and then losing Game 5. It's not an automatic. Citizens Bank Park is not an automatic. They've lost big playoff games at home. They've won a lot of big playoff games at home. It's a tremendous advantage. They're certainly much better at home than they are on the road in the playoffs, but it's not... we talk about, we get them in Citizens Bank Park, they've got no shot. And it's just not true. You've got to execute and you've got to play well. But when you play playoff baseball in front of the best fan base in baseball, Kyle Schwarber's talked about it. It feels like a college football environment, and it is just electric. But then you've got to settle down and you've got to play like that. And the Phillies can't play tight in front of this fan base. Right, and I think that's what happened last year and what has happened in series past in games 6 and 7. The Phillies absolutely played tight. They didn't want to lose in front of this fan base. So you got to ride the fan base, let them help you play your best. And as we saw in this intra-squad game, they're going to be there. They're going to show out, and it's going to be an electric atmosphere. I can't imagine being in the stands at the start of Game 1 on Saturday night. I'm getting the dates all mixed up. Saturday night for Game 1 at Citizens Bank Park. Anyway, in the intra-squad game, the powder blue Phillies beat the white Phillies 3-0. We're not talking, we're talking about jersey color here. Powder blue Phillies beat the Phillies playing in white pinstripes 3-0. Again, it was just a shorter game. It didn't go a full 9 innings. Jesus Luzardo pitched 3 innings, struck out all 9 batters. All 9 outs were recorded via the strikeout, throwing 98 miles an hour. He finished by throwing 60 pitches. That's 20 per inning. So that would probably be a 5-inning outing if you continue that progression. Luzardo looked really great. 98 miles an hour. All the sweeper looked amazing from all reports. It wasn't televised, so we're just going based off of the reporting of people who were there. Aaron Nola pitched 3 shutout innings for the other side. Induced a lot of weak contact, reportedly. Gave up just a couple of singles. So he looked good. It looks like maybe he's starting to round into form. Rob Thompson said that if there is, when they do need a 4th starter, that he would like it to be Aaron Nola. So if there is a Game 4 start, not surprising, a Game 4 starter that they need at some point, it will be Aaron Nola. It won't be Walker Buehler. It won't be Taijuan Walker. It will be Aaron Nola. And he has looked good his last couple times out there. So it would be quite a boost if you get good Aaron Nola. But again, no one's really holding their breath about that. Bryce Harper looks dialed in. 3 hits in the intra-squad game, including a home run to center field off of Walker Buehler for Team Powder Blues. Rafael Marchand went 2 for 2. By the way, I wrote an article about Bryce Harper in The Good Fight, talking about October now being, we talked about it on the last podcast, so I'm not going to get into it, but just I'd love for you to check it out about this October now being Bryce Harper's time to shine, and this is really when he needs to do it. Hopefully that wrist is getting a little bit of rest this week. 3 hits off of Walker Buehler, home run to center field. That's what you need to see from him in the playoffs, but he could be quite an equalizer. Bryce Harper off of Shohei Ohtani. You can get a bomb, Bryce. That would be a lot of fun. And then Joan Duran came in with his closer entrance, much to the delight of fans. They even went ahead and did the Joan Duran entrance for the intra-squad game. That's how fired up everybody was for this intra-squad game. You can just tell the players are anxious to get after it on Saturday night. This week has felt like one of the longest weeks. Like, let's get there. Let's go. Come on. And I'm sure the players are feeling that too. And it's one of the reasons why there is the debate over rest versus continuing to play. I'm sure the Dodgers probably, that wild card series went about as well as it could. The Dodgers continue to stay in that rhythm. Their guys continue to play. They were never in any trouble against the Reds in that series. Reminded me a lot of the 23 wild card series the Phillies played against the Marlins. It just didn't even feel like there was any kind of issue at all with playing an extra 2 games, those 2 wins, getting them to the division series. But you never know. You never know. The Reds could have stolen a game in Los Angeles, and then you're looking at a Game 3, and you're like, oh, boy, it's dicey time. It just didn't happen that way. And the Reds were, one of the worst playoff teams. That 23 Marlins team is probably the worst third wild card that we've seen in Major League Baseball since they went to this format in 2022, but the Reds are right there with them. So anyway, Phillies inter-squad game. They should do this every year. They have a bye in the first round. It really did remind me a lot of the big Eagles practices at Lincoln Financial Field that they hold at the beginning of training camp every summer, that you get 50,000 people out there to watch. Just a really cool, laid-back atmosphere, and I'm sure the players really appreciated having all of the fans in the stands. Just very, very cool stuff. Dave Dombrowski talked to the media before the intra-squad game. He was talking about whether or not this could be the last time. He says, could this be the last time this group has a shot to win the World Series like this? And he said, could it be? For sure. He said, I'm hopeful that we'll retain most of the guys, if not all of the guys, but I'm also realistic that it's not going to be easy. But we like our core, and we're hopeful to keep them with us. But that's a story for another day. So, yeah, he's not going to talk about free agency. He's not going to talk about Schwarber and Real Muto and Ranger and all those guys. But it sounds like he wants to keep this core intact. I was on WHYY's Studio 2 on Wednesday, and you can go on the WHYY YouTube page and catch that show catch that show. And they asked me essentially, hey, what happens if they lose? What if they fall short again? Are we going to see major changes? Are we going to see things different in 2026? And as I thought about it, I realized probably not. I mean, it depends how they lose. It depends who the culprits are. Who will we be pointing fingers at if they end up losing early and they go out early like they did again last year. I think they're going to retain Kyle. They're going to try and re-sign Schwarber. They're going to try and re-sign Real Muto. I don't know about Ranger Suarez or Harrison Bader. I think they might try to re-sign Harrison Bader because he's been such a good fit. But I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like. And I just don't think there's a way for them. They tried to radically change or make some changes to the roster this offseason, and it didn't work out. I don't know that. I mean, I think Castellanos is gone. I think there's no doubt about the fact Nick Castellanos is gone. But other than that, even if they lose in terms of the roster, I don't think there's a whole lot that they could do or that they would want to do based on a team that won 96 games in the regular season. The only thing they could do is make a change at manager. And even if they lose the NLDS, it depends how they lose it. If they were to lose it, or in the NLCS, if they don't make the World Series, does that mean Rob Thompson's job is in danger? I guess it could be. It really depends on how it happens, I think. But nobody wants to think about that right now. Everybody wants to think about this team doing what they've set out to do, what it feels like they're going to do. It really feels like this team is going to do it. I know people are going to be nervous by how dominant the Dodgers were against the Reds. I would just caution you to remember that oftentimes one series has nothing to do with the series that is to follow, and the Phillies are light years better than the Cincinnati Reds in terms of quality of the roster. So just because the Dodgers pounded the Reds doesn't mean they're going to pound the Phillies too. I am no more afraid of the Dodgers as I sit here right now, early in the morning on Thursday morning, than I was when the regular season started, or than I was after the Phillies took 2 of 3 from these very same Los Angeles Dodgers just 2 weeks ago as the Phillies were finishing up the regular season. Feel no trepidation whatsoever about playing this Dodgers team. The Phillies match up well with Los Angeles, and this core can get it done. So no point in thinking about whether or not this could be the last ride. You got to assume that it is, and take advantage of it while you have it. Dombrowski didn't give any indications on what the Phillies' 26-man NLDS roster would look like. They don't have to make that finalized until Friday, I believe, or maybe it's even Saturday morning. They could carry 12 pitchers. They could carry 13 pitchers. I think you would carry 12 in a best of 5. That gives you an extra bench player. It's not going to be Johan Rojas. His quad is not well enough for him to play. He would be available for the NLCS, but it sounds like the opening is there for both Weston Wilson and Otto Kemp to make the NLDS roster. And I'm really hoping Otto Kemp is on the roster. He was getting better passes at the ball than anyone else in the lineup, or as good as anyone else in the lineup over the course of the last couple of weeks. Since he was recalled, he was hitting the ball very, very well. I would love to have him on the roster, get as many good bats on that bench as possible. And then one thing we did learn too, left-hander Matt Strahm will be back in 2026. That was not unexpected. He passed a physical on Monday, which officially triggered the $7.5 million club option that became guaranteed once he pitched 60 innings this year. All right, so really quickly, let's run down the other wild card series. You have the Guardian. The rest of these series are all tied at 1. The two teams split the 3-game series through the first 2 games, so all of these games will be played. A pivotal Game 3 on Thursday. Guardians and Tigers locked up at a game apiece. These two American League Central teams splitting the first 2 games. Tigers won Game 1 2-1 behind Tarek Skubal. He pitched into the 8th inning, 14 strikeouts, 3 walks in that game, 107 pitches. Gavin Williams also pitched very well for Cleveland, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts there. Then the Guardians won Game 2 6-1. It was a 1-1 game going into the 8th, but then Brian Rocchio hit a tie-breaking home run that opened the floodgates to a 5-run 8th inning for the Guardians. So that series tied 2 games apiece. Game 3, of course, in Cleveland on Thursday afternoon. And then you have the Cubs and the Padres. The winner of this series will take on the Brewers on Saturday. The Cubs won Game 1 3-1. Old friend Nick Pivetta got the start for San Diego. Didn't pitch bad. 5 innings, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts, and no walks. He looked good, continued his excellent season, but in a low-scoring game, the Cubs managed to scratch out some late runs against San Diego. They got a huge effort from their bullpen. 4 2/3 innings of scoreless relief for the Cubs. The Cubs' bullpen has become a real strength for them. They got a lot of hard throwers in that bullpen, and they shut down the Padres' offense. So Cubs win Game 1 3-1. The Padres answer with a 3-0 win in Game 2. Dylan Cease only went 3 2/3 innings for San Diego, but the Padres used a great effort by their bullpen. 5 1/3 scoreless innings of relief. Mason Miller gets 5 outs. Robert Suarez got the last 4. That is, wow, what weapons at the back of the bullpen there. Mason Miller getting 5 outs. Robert Suarez getting 4. That's what the Phillies are going to look for with Joan Duran. Some 4 or 5 out outings, saves, whatever they happen to be. And then Manny Machado, a huge home run in Game 2. The superstar having a superstar moment for San Diego. That's what you're looking for from Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper in the playoffs as well. And then Yankees-Red Sox. Red Sox win Game 1 3-1. Yankees had a chance in the 9th inning to steal a win at home in Game 1. Bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, nobody out, but Aroldis Chapman managed to wiggle out of it, gave up nothing to close down a win for the Red Sox, winning 3-1. But then the Yankees equalized the series in Game 2, 4-3, on an 8th inning dash to home by Jazz Chisholm Jr., scored on a single. Jazz Chisholm on first base, but was running on the pitch, so he was trying to steal second on a single down the right field line by Austin Wells. It didn't get past the right fielder, bounced off of the sidewall back into the field of play, but Chisholm was running the whole way, so he's basically on second base as the ball is getting into the outfield. It took the right fielder a little bit of time to track the ball down, so it didn't go far enough to allow Austin Wells to get to second, but it allowed Jazz Chisholm to score all the way from first base on the single to go ahead to get the go-ahead run 4-3, giving the Yankees the win. The Yankees would lock it down in the 9th inning. So again, all of those series now tied at a game apiece, and all 3 series there will be a Game 3. What a great day of baseball coming up on Thursday to see which of those teams move on to their respective division series. All right, so we are set. Phillies, Dodgers, starting on Saturday night. Shohei Ohtani, Christopher Sanchez. Game 2 will likely be Blake Snell against either Jesus Luzardo or Ranger Suarez. Just a tremendous set of pitching matchups. Feels like an old school series, doesn't it? And really, it's kind of the rubber series for these two teams. The Phillies have won the last 3 playoff series against the Dodgers. 1983, 2008, and 2009. The Dodgers, of course, winning in 77 and 78. Who will come out on top? Man, a lot of fun. A lot of fun thinking about these two heavyweights, 2 big spending teams, 2 teams loaded with stars. And I'm going to tell you what, the Phillies are winning this series. Phillies are winning this series in 4 games. They're going to win the first 2 at Citizens Bank Park. They're going to lose Game 3 and then they're going to win Game 4 at Dodger Stadium to move on to the National League Championship Series. The Phillies are winning this series, folks. Believe it. Don't be afraid of the Dodgers. Don't fear LA. That team has weaknesses. They looked unbeatable because they're playing a Cincinnati Reds team. Believe in what you saw 2 weeks ago and how the Phillies came back against the Dodgers. I know they struggled against the Dodgers starters in that series as well. I know the Dodgers have a great starting rotation, but so do the Phillies. The Phillies are ready for this challenge, guys. They're ready for this challenge. They've shown you all year they're ready for this challenge. This is the most even keel, consistent Phillies team we have seen of these 4 teams that have made the playoffs. They are confident, yet loose. They have the right mindset. It's not, you can tell they're not putting the world on their shoulders. I don't think they're going to act like ding-dongs at the plate. I just don't. I think we're going to see, they're not going to win every game. They may have some games where they don't look great. But this team has all the pieces. They are just as talented as the Dodgers. These are 2 pretty evenly matched teams. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about the fact the Dodgers have as good a roster as the Phillies do. But the Phillies should be favored going into this series. I know some of the betting sites now have the Dodgers as the favorites to win the World Series. That just reflects how the betting public is feeling, because the Dodgers beat up on the Reds in these first 2 games. It's the Reds. Okay, the Phillies are a much different team than the Cincinnati Reds. This is a really, really good baseball team, and they are going to beat the Dodgers and move on to the National League Championship Series, guys. Believe it. It's going to happen. And it all starts on Saturday night at Citizens Bank Park in the 6 o'clock hour Eastern Time. We don't know exactly when in the 6 o'clock hour just yet, but Shohei Ohtani versus Christopher Sanchez, these 2 star-studded lineups, bullpens that are going to look a little bit different than they did in the regular season. Raring to go. Citizens Bank Park is going to be locked in. I'm so glad it's not the 1 o'clock game. Phillies play a whole lot better at night at Citizens Bank Park, I think, especially in the early rounds of the playoffs. It's going to be absolutely electric. It's going to be a low-scoring game on Saturday night. Red October is here, guys, and I know you're all primed for it. I'm primed for it, and the Hittin' Season podcast will be with you every step of the way during what we hope will be a much longer postseason journey than we saw last year. I believe that it will be. I believe that we will win. Phillies are going to win this National League Division Series in 4 games, guys. Book it. That's going to do it for this edition of Hittin' Season. Don't forget, folks, to tell your friends and family members about the Hittin' Season podcast. Have them get started right now for this playoff run. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you get your podcasts, we are there. And you can also subscribe to the WHYY YouTube channel. That's where our roundtable editions of the podcast, and we're going to put all of our postseason playoff podcast recaps on our Hittin' Season YouTube page as well. So you can listen to it there. You can watch it there. So just again, you can go to YouTube, type in Hittin' Season, and then just subscribe to the Hittin' Season YouTube page. And so you'll be able to get, if you like to listen to podcasts there, you can get all of our podcasts there as well. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time right here on Hittin' Season.